Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, May 29th, and welcome to episode 182 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. As usual, I'm Jesse Burrell, joined as always by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And Riley, we have a big one here. The Blue Jays finally, 50-some games, one-third into our season, finally got the first sweep of the series. Now, it was against the White Sox, the worst team in baseball, but boy, did the Blue Jays ever need this so badly. How you feeling, my man, after the big sweep against the White Sox?
I mean, there's an expression, everyone knows it. It's kind of the go pick on someone your own size thing.
Sure, yeah.
We have to beat ball clubs. That's just how it works. It doesn't matter if it was the White Sox or the Orioles. We needed this, and we needed this in a bad way, Jesse. I won't say this series kept our season alive, but very well could, looking back at this, if we're discussing this in September, go, wow, yeah, those 3 games against the White Sox kind of helped us out or didn't mean anything. Who knows where we sit at that point? But for right now, Jesse, first sweep of the year for us. And it could have came at a better time. Doesn't matter who we're against. Of course, it was the White Sox. They're having an abysmal season, and rightfully so with the team they're putting on the field. But it's not their fault. Our Blue Jays can only do what we can do, and we took advantage of this series in Chicago, took 3 straight.
Hey, that's what good teams do, right? You play 500 against the teams you're competing about, and you take care of the teams on the bottom. The Blue Jays have a long way to go, but this was a good, promising start. I wanted to be joined by my friend, the Broom, on this one, which I haven't been able to pull out all season, but I'm in the process of moving, hence why our episode last week had a little bit of internet problems. But as of next episode, we should be all good to go on that front there. A few housekeeping notes before we dive deep into this series against the Chicago White Sox. First, please, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, leave a 5-star review, all that good stuff. You can find our show anywhere you can find podcasts. Please make sure you follow and subscribe and do all that. A couple things. If you are in Toronto tomorrow evening, less than, not even 24 hours to go from now, Riley and I will be at the Comedy Bar hosted by our friends over at the Walk Off Podcast. They are having a Blue Jays roundtable full of a bunch of other people. Riley and I will be in attendance. So if you want to come hang out and chat Blue Jays baseball with us and many other Blue Jays fans, please make sure you come do so. Come say hi. Tell Riley his hair looks nice or whatever it is you want to do on that show. You can meet up with us there. It should be a lot of fun. And yeah, so that being said, Riley, ready to get into the game recaps? You're ready to dive deep because there's a lot of storylines and talking points from this series.
Jesse, without further ado,
let's go, shall we? Let's do it. All right. Game 1 of the series. The Blue Jays win 5-1. The Blue Jays moved around the batting order a little bit in this game, moved George Springer down to 7th for the first time in his career, and he responded with a 2-run home run off his fastball, his 4th of the season. Bo Bichette added a solo shot, and Davis Schneider hit a 2-run home run in the 9th for some insurance. Chris Bassett fired 5 shutout innings despite dealing with some neck soreness. Eric Swanson gave up a home run, but the bullpen did their job, and the Jays got back to the winning side after what was a rough series in Detroit. Game 2, Jays win 7-2. The Jays got off to a 3-0 lead early thanks to an RBI double by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Davis Schneider. Davis Schneider later added his 3rd RBI in the 6th with a sac fly. And the Jays added some more in the 8th as well. Gausman pitched well, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 Ks, but got the job done. And in the game that just wrapped up about an hour ago here, the Jays win 3-1. Davis Schneider led off the 3rd with a leadoff walk, later came around to score. George Springer led off the 4th with a leadoff walk and later came around to score. And it was a 3-0 game until the 9th when Jordan Romano came in, did give up a home run and a lot of hard contact, but was able to shut the door for his 8th save of the season, moving up to 3rd all-time on the Blue Jays franchise record list. So after the series, the Jays stand with a record of 26-29, 3 games below 500. We're still in 5th place in the division, 10.5 games back of the Yankees in the AL East, but we're just 4 games back of that final wild card spot, but with 4 teams to pass. So the Blue Jays still have some more work to do. Riley, a lot of talking points, a lot of interesting things on the Blue Jays side coming out of the series. The floor is yours, my man. Where are we going first?
What an interesting series for a player that I didn't think was going to get going this year at all. Mm-hmm. And it's a 3-game stint. I get that. But George Springer absolutely came unglued, unhinged, and had a monster series game. He was present games 1, 2, and 3. Multi-hit games for George Springer in the 2. drawing multiple walks. And this is coming from a George Springer that's hitting lower in our batting order, right? We already have made that switch. And obviously we have been rolling with, Davis Schneider at the top of the order. This is a conversation I'm not having right now, but strictly George Springer understood the assignment. You're not producing. Okay. It's time to turn the bat around. And he did just that in this series. Man, my only concern with this is this a too good to be true thing? And I think partially, yes. Baseball is a wildly streaky sport where stats can be inflated. It's the famous one. A relief pitcher has 2 appearances to start the year, and his ERA is not going to be down until mid-July. So Jesse, it comes down to, can George just keep it steady for the rest of the year? I doubt we're going to get a 3-game skid like this from, but for the series that we had, for the amount of runs we scored, let's see, 10 runs, 15 runs scored. That's 5 runs a game. That's pretty good. And George Springer was a big part of that. He was an absolutely instrumental part in why we swept this series. And he really hasn't done anything to produce wins for us. Like, if you're going to look at the stat, wins above replacement, I don't know what his is right now. This series certainly helped his overall WAR for the season, as well as his numbers. And at the end of the day, Jesse, we needed these 3 wins. George, a big part of that.
Yeah, the thing that really impressed me the most about George Springer in this series, and oh, by the way, after this series, he is now a positive WAR player, 0.1 on the season.
I was wondering that.
Give it to George. Yeah, very good. But he hit a home run in game 1 on the fastball to the pull side, and it's something the Blue Jays as a team really haven't been doing. George Springer himself hasn't done that since April of last year. That's how long it's been. And when George Springer was at his best in Houston, he was hammering the Crawford boxes with fastballs to the pull side. I wonder with him, first, I guess, before I get into that, first things, the walks are huge. If you know you can't be that productive of a hitter anymore, but you can still draw your walks and get on base and help the team, fantastic. That's all stuff we want to see from George Springer. Putting together good at bats, which is really, as you get older and as like your skills decline a little bit and you have to change the way you approach, if you can still draw those walks and get on base, it's all going to be good things. And look, George Springer has a long way to go before he regains our trust and before we really think he's a high impact piece in our lineup again. But a series like this will go a long way to really get things going. Thumbs up to George Springer after this series.
5 walks in the series.
5 walks, man. Wow.
It's an insane number. A walk in every game, multi-hit games. And like, that's all you can ask for. Like, yeah, that's more than you can ask for what we've seen with George Springer right now, but it's certainly a pleasant treat. That being said, we'll move on, but I just want to note, I still think we should rock what we have been doing with this batting order, and George in the 6th spot is fine for right now.
Yeah, so I agree. So let's talk then about the guy who took his spot in the leadoff spot, and that's Davis Schneider, who coming into the series, I think he was actually only hitting like 200, but he was hitting a bunch of power. But then he went crazy in this series. And Davis Schneider is actually more of like what your typical 2024 leadoff hitter is, a high OBP guy, a guy who can work a lot of pitches, and a guy who, might strike out some more than you want to see and maybe not is the fastest runner, but has still been able to get the job done. There was a stat circulating around earlier that I'm sure you've seen, and I'm sure some of our listeners have seen. But since Davis Schneider made his debut last season, I think he's like 9th in WRC plus, or maybe it's OPS plus. It's one of those stats. And the 9 guys ahead of him are all stars, perennial guys, like all the guys you think of are top-notch talents. So Davis Schneider has been right there with them, and more good stuff to see in the series. He hit another home run here. I have his stats here in a moment once I find it. Yeah, and he's just really good. And also, he is top 10 in all of baseball in pitches per plate appearance, which I know Blue Jays fans like a guy who can grind out pitches, make good at bats. Davis Schneider is doing just that. And one more thing before I let you talk Davis Schneider. Remember how he said he had that trouble with the pitches high in the zone, the high fastballs, that's your detriment, that's how you can get me out. Well, if you notice, Davis Schneider is actually standing taller in the box now, and he's keeping his hands above the ball, and now he's crushing the high fastball. What an adjustment for a guy who doesn't even have 1 year of service time in the major leagues. I'm thoroughly impressed by Davis Schneider and what he's done.
You missed out an important thing that I noticed in this series, and I don't even know if Shulman and Buck were talking about this. Opted for no batting gloves as well.
Huge.
So, and I tweeted out, I don't know if you saw it or not a popular tweet, and it just kind of crossed my mind. The last time the 1 and 2 hitters in the lineup, Danny Jansen, obviously notorious for catcher not wearing batting gloves, a la Jorge Posada type guy. When was the last time your 1 and 2 hitters in the lineup didn't wear batting gloves?
God, I wish I could look that up. Wow.
Seems like a 1980s thing. You know, Ricky Henderson was wearing batting gloves and stuff. Listen, Jesse, what a treat it is to watch this guy play baseball, whether it be second base or left field. He's in our lineup every day. That is by far like the staple. And he's hitting at the top of the lineup because he does just that, produces. I think he might be one of the more steady players in all of baseball, and that the Jays have right now. I know that he's top 10 amongst, I'm sure, Shohei, Freeman, Acuna, those guys. Those are tough lists to crack. And Davis Schneider is a grinded out type guy, a gritty Dan Ugglecomp type guy that we love on this ball club. And he works hard, man. Absolutely great to see him in the lineup, hitting at the top of the order and hitting well from the top of the order. And as far as the grinding out pitches, Jesse, love that. Because how many
I knew
times,
you would, Riley. I knew you would.
And I don't want to get too down yet, whether we touch on it or not. The amount of times we've grounded into first pitch double plays or uncompetitive, small, weak contact in the infield. Like I get that Davis Schneider's gonna have a couple of those, but from the top of the order, I mean, we gotta see that. I mean, he could barrel baseballs up, but the quality and quantity are both there for the contact that he is making.
Yeah, he is going to get all-star buzz this year. In fact, he might even make the all-star game, which is wild for us thinking about Davis Schneider. Also, in game 2, Riley, he had a double down the left field line and a double down the right field line in the same game. Absolutely bananas from Davis Schneider, and I'm glad he's on our team. And finally, the Blue Jays farm has a great success story. Moving on to another player here, I did want to mention a few because the Jays scored 15 runs in the series. We have offensive impacts all over the field. But I want to throw some love to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, a guy who we were going to talk about a bit in the Detroit series before our internet crapped out, but we're going to talk about a little bit about him here. You know, he's quietly on an 8-game hit streak. You know, he had an extra base hit, a double in both game 1 and game 2 of this series. Made a couple leaping catches in the infield there as well. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is slowly playing every day. And coming into the game today, Riley, there were only 5 Blue Jays with above league average OPS. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was one of them. So he's quietly doing his job down there in the bottom of the order. And, you know, we gave him a lot of slack, and it's not Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's fault. The Blue Jays offered him way too much money, but, you know, he's been doing all right. So props where it's due.
I mean, he's there for his defense. We know that. And I'll tell you, Jesse, and I know you'll agree with me, is he is as steady as it gets at third base. He has made some gem throws across the diamond to first base. Absolutely love to see that. Hitting, I don't think you're going to see him 9th a lot, but I see him 8th and maybe the rare time at 7. But this is any basically in my mind, Jesse, any WRC plus for him that's kind of in the, if he has a series where his WRC plus is 100 and he doesn't have a ton of strikeouts, he's not grounding into double plays, he's not a liability, is a huge plus for us. And it is a treat. Listen, we got guys like Kiermaier in our order we can't count on for offense. And I would say the same for IKF. Although when we do receive hits, runs batted in from guys like this, it's really nice. And we should talk about this. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a gold COVID asterisk on the Gold Glove he won. It was 2020. Yeah. I don't think that matters. He's a great defender. That's why he's here. And his bat is certainly starting to heat up. I still don't think you're going to see an absolute scorcher of a line when the season's said and done. But he's been a good complimentary piece for us. Like you said, Jesse, 15 runs scored in this series, and IKF, not, multi-hits and things like that, but still being able to drive in runs and drove in 2 in game 3 today. So, I mean, that's important stuff right there. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is just kind of the guy that's going to be at the bottom of the order regardless. I can't see him moving up. He's not that type of player. And I think that if he can kind of keep his bat a little bit warm, it's really going to help us, because look who we got in producing at the top of the lineup. He's a good guy that can turn the lineup over.
Yeah, the under the hood numbers still don't look that great for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, so let's not get too excited here. But look, 4 home runs and 170 or so at bats in 2022. He had 4 home runs over 470 something at bats, and 2 triples on the season too for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So thumbs up for you there, Riley. Or let's hammer through the rest of the offensive performances real quick here. Bo Bichette, home run, dead center field in game 1. We wanted to see more power from Bo Bichette. Thought that was very good. He had 2 more hits in the game this afternoon, too. Over the last 10 days, Riley, now 6 games against the White Sox, 4 against Detroit. But Bo Bichette's hitting over 400 with an OPS over 1,000. We'll take that. That is very good. Danny Jansen hit a home run in this series, I believe, as well, but also hit like 4, maybe 3 fly balls that died on the warning track to Danny Jansen. Like, he is scary to pitch to right now. Like, there's more big things coming from Jano. And speaking of catchers, I wanted to give Kirk some love. Only game he got into this series, but did have 2 hard hits, both over 100 miles per hour, 2 for 4 day for Kirk. And Varsho. Walked twice in game 1, 2 more deep fly balls. He's seeing it well, too. It seems like things are kicking. Those 4 players, Riley, did you have a thought, or were there any other offensive players that stood out to you?
I'll take away Bo Bichette from this one and say that it's great that he has produced those numbers, but this is a guy, there's still a lot more of the season to go, and he really needs to keep up this level against more, I'll say, competitive teams, although I do kind of like how the team that Detroit has assembled, the White Sox, play against good pitching as well, Jesse. That's just plain and simple. We need Bo Bichette to hit. We're 3 games below 500, man. I mean, we need Bo Bichette up to the dish to essentially not be a liability. The ground outs, the strikeouts, and the power numbers are great. He's at some point he's got 45 doubles written all over his season.
He'll get hot. He'll get hot, and it'll come hot and heavy for him.
This might be a step back of a year, Jesse, but as far as Bo goes in this series, great. I really, as far as a lot of guys goes, I really hope that he can start to inflate his numbers a bit.
All right, Riley, just give me a number on a scale of 1 to 10. How confident do you feel in the Blue Jays offense right now, with 1 being like, nope, we're still terrible, this is dreadful, 10 being like, this is the 2021 team or the 2015 team, we're back? Where would you rank this offense right now after this series?
3, probably.
3?
Honestly, yeah. That's such a low number, but it's true. I'm gonna say 3. Not very optimistic moving forward. I need to see more.
Like, we can get excited, but it's White Sox pitching, right?
Sure, Jesse, we can get excited. It doesn't change the fact that there's still a lot of the season left to play, and the averages are not in our favor right now. So I'm not overly confident. It's nice to walk away with a sweep like that, but moving forward, I don't have the same feel. I don't have the same confidence. I hope we can get it together. And maybe if we sweep another series, maybe if we sweep the Pirates, that 3 will, turn into a 5 or a 6. Who knows? But we got to see more, Jesse. We have not seen good Blue Jays baseball this year, plain and simple.
All right. Well, I'm with you. We will recheck after the Pirates series to see where you stand then. But let's go from the batter's box to the pitcher's mound, and let's talk some starting pitching. I do want to talk about both Bassett's and Kevin Gausman's start here, but we got to start with Alek Manoah, who got lifted today in Game 3 of the series due to elbow soreness, is what the Blue Jays are calling it. He's going for an MRI tomorrow. Alek Manoah described it as he had a pinchy feeling in his elbow and did not try to go through and throw another pitch. Now, the good news is you didn't hear that pop, because usually once you hear the pop in the elbow, it's Tommy John. You're done for a year and a half. It does sound like both Alek Manoah and the Blue Jays people seem to think an IL trip is coming here for Alek Manoah. So 2 good starts, 2 bad starts, and he did have a couple strikeouts before the elbow injury here today. I think we're going to be without Alek Manoah for probably at least another month or 2. We will see. So, Riley, what's your thoughts? What do the Blue Jays do in the meantime without our number 5 starter?
I don't know. I probably would have gone after a pitcher before the injuries. I don't know if you'll get
True.
I know and I don't know if you'll get it to it or not, but Bassett dealing with some neck soreness or whatever.
Yeah,
we can touch on that. Yeah. But so two pitchers dealing with something after a 3-game set. That's terrifying. With Yariel Rodriguez not around right now.
He'll be back shortly.
He'll be back shortly, but it's right now. We can't take days off until that. Rodriguez, Francis,
Yeah, there's not a lot of depth down in the system either, which kind of blows with Ricky Tiedemann, because this is the spot where you thought Ricky Tiedemann would come up and take a part on this team, and he could really get a step together. My thought is the Blue Jays are probably going to activate Yariel Rodriguez or Bowden Francis, probably piggyback one of them. You can wait 5 days until that happens, but you're right, Riley. The Blue Jays pitching depth is not there. Like Paulo Espino is not the answer, and then Adam Macko is probably next on that list, and he's still in Double A. So, yeah, they might need to get someone from outside this organization here.
I really think a trade should happen. I think that we could go in probably. Listen. We have a great Bison's team right now. I think it's time. Like, can we at least move like an older prospect, a Spencer Horowitz for an arm? Like, is that worth not absolutely blowing this rest of the year? Like, if we want to make moves, the problem with injuries, Jesse, and the depth chart we have with pitching, is that we can't wait. Like there's games. I mean, we get a day off tomorrow, Thursday, and then we're playing against the Pirates. And then it's baseball, baseball, baseball. We just can't take these days off. And it's not like the old days where a guy's throwing 300 pitches in a week. We need more pitchers in this organization, and we need to outsource that. In my head, I think we go to a team that lacks, a first baseman or a right fielder and say Nathan Lucas, Spencer Horowitz, kind of maybe a package deal. I don't know. I don't want to give up top end talent maybe for a rental, but we need something, man. We need something because we need to keep right now, the water level right now, we're kind of right around our nose mouth. Like we need to breathe. We need to improve our record. We're not trying to stay 500, dude. We need to get in the win column, and not outsourcing this will lead to us not getting in the win column. I guarantee that. If we don't nip this in the butt right away, then we're screwed. We need starting pitching, plain and simple.
It reminds me a lot of the 2021 Blue Jays season when that team was firing on all cylinders offensively, but the bullpen kept falling apart. Shun Yamaguchi, Rafael Dolis, Tyler Chatwood, like you'll remember that. The Blue Jays waited too long to get Adam Simber, Trevor Richards, and those guys in the bullpen. They make that trade 2 weeks earlier. The Blue Jays are a playoff team, and their whole outlook of this franchise looks completely different. So I agree. Like, don't wait. Try to move something. If you have to overpay a little bit, so be it. And going a little off topic here, and we don't want to spend any time on this at all, but a report came out today that the Blue Jays were interested in Ryan McMahon, which is a guy we've thought about, okay, yeah, sure, that could be a good fit here. But the fact that report coming out means the Blue Jays are probably more likely looking to add to this team than to sell on this team, which is interesting. And I thought we should just keep an eye on that. But yeah, any more thoughts on Alek Manoahs before we move on to the rest of the pitchers?
No, we'll probably talk about Ryan McMahon after the episode. I don't think we've ever talked about him before. Ever. Yeah. So after the episode, we'll have a discussion about that after, but we'll move on, Jesse.
Yeah, it's just rumors. He's having a good year. Whatever. Besides the point. The other two pitchers in this series, Chris Bassitt, as you mentioned, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts, 81 pitches. You mentioned the neck injury. Apparently, he was in danger of not even going to make that start that day, but he kind of felt like he wanted to. He went out there. Apparently, he told John Schneider after the 4th inning, he's like, look, man, I'm going to give you one more. So the fact that he was dealing with that neck stiffness and was still able to get out and go and put up the performance he did. He even said after the game, guys, like, we got lucky. I should have done that. He was leaving. His mechanics were all out of whack. It could explain why the velocity on his pitches weren't as high as it normally is. But the fact that you still went out there and battled, got you 5 shutout innings is great. And I also want to point out that's now like 17 consecutive scoreless outings, or maybe there was 1 inning for Bassitt where he gave up 6, but it's like 17 of the last 18 or something like that. Scoreless innings for Chris Bassitt, which we're 25 minutes into this episode, and the fact that we're just talking about that now is fantastic for Chris Bassitt. And then Kevin Gausman, quick, did all right. He threw 7 innings, only got 3 strikeouts. He gave up 4 hits. All 4 of his hits were on the fastball, by the way, which has been getting absolutely crushed this year. And I have a lot of thoughts on Kevin Gausman, but maybe I'll put him out on Twitter. This is not the time, but decent outing for him. Do you have thoughts on those two, Bassitt's outing and Kevin Gausman's?
It's like really good that Gausman is not having these explosive starts that I was thinking we could have got more of those. He was okay. Bassitt, though, he's an absolute workhorse. If there's any pitcher in my mind, I doubt this, like a Terry Mulholland, Jamie Moyer type guy that can pitch till he's in old age. I'm not saying he'll pitch till he's 48, but Chris Bassitt.
Oh, he could, though. He could.
Chris Bassett's a workhorse, man. There's no
Mhm.
doubt about that with his pitch mix. He's not the hardest thrower. I think Bassett's having a fantastic year, and I really hope that the ailment he is dealing with subsides, because I want to see this thing through, because could be a.
Yeah, his ERA on the season, 4.03, which is after the really rough start that Chris Bassett had, is very, very positive, and we're happy to see that with here too. Riley, I want to talk a little bit about relievers, and the Blue Jays did make a pretty big move in their bullpen. We got Chad Green back, which was very nice, but the corresponding move was to send down Erik Swanson, who we were just going to give some love. He was the only Blue Jays reliever not to allow an earned run in the Tigers series. Then he gives up a home run in game 1 of the White Sox series here. Look, an ERA over 9, the Blue Jays have talked about urgency with their thing, and sending down a guy with an ERA over 9 makes sense. But I was really surprised the Blue Jays did this. Do you have a thought about choosing Erik Swanson as the guy to go down when Chad Green came back?
He
Killing us with anticipation, my guy. I'll wait for you to come back. I'll give my thought on it here. Look, the guy simply hasn't been good enough. And I know that he had his rough start to the spring, right? With the issues that happened to his son, the late buildup in spring training, and all of that stuff is tough. But you know, at the end of the day, he's not good enough. Riley, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I did just piggybacking off what you literally just said. This is not the year for Erik Swanson. Off the field, on the field, things just not going right in his life, and it's unfortunate. Pitchers will always have that. Doesn't matter if you're a starter or a reliever. Any baseball reference page, you can look at an outlier season. I think this is going to be Erik Swanson's, unfortunately. He is a great pitcher. He is a great bullpen arm. He has just not pitched like a great pitcher this year. I hope that he finds success in AAA for, I want to say, hopefully it may be a short time, get things figured out, come back, and maybe lessen his innings, different leverage situations with Erik Swanson for right now, because obviously he can't really be our setup guy if he does return. We need to walk this one through slow, because when he's good, he's on point, and he just hasn't been himself this year. Very understandable, but it will be nice when he is firing on all cylinders again, because our bullpen, Jesse, has been streaky at times.
Look, this is the type of the move to take this for a personal level for Erik Swanson that'll really define like what type of athlete and what type of person you are. Going through all this adversity, going through this on talent alone, he's one of our best 7 relievers. But you're right, like you said, this is how he bounces back from this is going to show a lot about the character that Erik Swanson is. Chad Green came up. His first appearance of the season looked good. He did give up a ground ball single, but 2 ground balls and a flyout in a relatively easy inning. Quick thought on Chad Green?
No, again, kind of a guy like Swanson, throws harder, obviously different stuff, but same kind of role for me. So I hope that he can kind of be what Swanson should be this year, and we'll go from there.
Other relievers of note in this series, Jimmy Garcia had a great bounce back outing after his blow up in Detroit there. He got a strikeout and 2 fly balls. Good to see. Nate Pearson, through his lowest percentage of fastballs he's ever thrown in a start, really started throwing more sliders and curveballs, which never understood. You throw 100, but you know, it's league-wide trends. People are throwing less fastball. So I guess Nate Pearson is joining that train as well. Genesis Cabrera struggled again in his one appearance. I think he's on his way out the door once Yariel and Bowden Francis are Betty. Tim Meza worked a clean 7th after the rain delay, but then also he pitched again today here. And we have to give some love to Trevor Richards, who came in game 3 today through 3 1/3. I think he faced 12 batters. He got 10 of them out. Very good. His longest outing of the year by far for Trevor Richards, as he's only gone 2 innings in an appearance once all season. So the fact that they stretched him out a little bit and he was able to go 3 1/3, very good. And Jordan Romano on the back end of our pen, Riley, he gave up the big home run in the Sunday game in Detroit, came in this game as well, gave up another home run. He actually doesn't have that many scoreless outing appearances in there. And of the 3 batted balls he gave up, they were all over 101 miles per hour off of the bat. It's yikes for Jordan Romano. Like, I am genuinely worried about this guy. But the rest of those names in the bullpen, Riley, anything catch your attention?
It's funny, Jesse. With I'll just say Romano. We'll just keep it short and sweet. We celebrate. Hanky and Dwayne Ward, and then Romano's 3rd all time. And I'm
passing Roberto Osuna for 3rd all time on the Blue Jays save leaderboard. I don't think he's going to catch up to number 2 in quite a while here, though. But yeah, I'm once you get back here, I want you to actually just rank the relievers really quick. And like, how many relievers do you have on the trustometer, I suppose, before you get to Jordan Romano? Because he's like 4th or 5th on mine. He's not number 1 or 2. So rank our relievers.
Yeah. Well, Garcia, despite the blow up,
he's up there. I think I'm more curious on where you would rank one Jordan Romano and where you would rank Zach Pop in that piece in the bullpen, because they've both done well. And Richards, I guess. I feel like they've got to be part of your circle of trust. The thing is with Jordan Romano, though, is he's going to pitch. John Schneider's got him in there. He believes in the track record. He's going to be in there for quite a while. So I hope it isn't a move that ends up backfiring on our season. Right. And maybe Jordan Romano, he's been good enough. The track record's been there for the last few years. So maybe it just clicks. But yeah, go ahead, Riley.
So Garcia, Trevor Richards has got to be up there. I know I don't give him any sort of love on this show, but he has shut me right up. He's been fantastic this year. I would also like to say that as far as other pitchers goes, I have high hopes for Chad Green. But honestly, it's I will put Romano ahead of him. Romano's probably 3rd for me. And then Mazda. I want to count Swanson out for this one, but at the bottom of my list, Jesse, and I'm gonna kind of not include Zach Pop because he hasn't had a ton of outings just yet. But Genesis Cabrera is I'm really kind of losing faith in him, which is unfortunate because Meza was cold. Now Cabrera's cold. So we don't actually have 2 good lefties rocking at the same time, which to start the year, I thought that Cabrera was going to be good. And I thought, well, hell, I said Meza was going to be an all-star this year. That ain't going to happen. So it's a tough time to be a Blue Jays reliever unless your name is Jimmy Garcia. But Trevor Richards, absolutely outstanding in relief in the 3-1 finale to get the sweep. We couldn't have done that without the appearance of Trevor. I mean, he only allowed 2 base runners. That's fantastic.
For what it's worth, I then suppose the Pittsburgh Pirates don't have a ton of pure left-handed hitters on their things, O'Neill Cruz aside, and I guess our old friend Rowdy Tellez maybe might have a good series against us.
Well, they sent, and my guy, they sent Jack Swinsky down to AAA, though, so we won't get to see him. Jeez.
Tough, Riley. Tough.
Well, that's he can't hit lefties, I will tell you that.
Well, the Blue Jays don't have a ton at the moment, so maybe just Yusei Kikuchi will have to do all the work. We will see against that. Tomorrow is the City Connect jersey reveal for the Toronto Blue Jays. We will touch on that our next episode. There's been a ton of leaks. I'm still not certain the leaks that we've seen are the ones that are going to come out, but we will see. We'll talk about those tomorrow. Plus, tomorrow we will be at the Comedy Bar downtown doing all this stuff, so we will have a lot of content coming for you from there. So please make sure you pay attention to all of our socials and get a hold of that. With that being said, Riley, the Pittsburgh Pirates come to town, and I'm kind of on the bandwagon for Pittsburgh, but the good news is we will miss both Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, so it should be a lighter side of the kind of below average Pittsburgh Pirates here, a team that has been struggling a little bit. The Jays need to sweep Pittsburgh to get back to 500 to go 10-6 over that 5-series stretch that we were talking about before the Tampa Bay Rays series. My question for you is, do you have a pick to click? Who's your pick? Do you have a series prediction for how we do this weekend at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Geez, well, Jesse, wouldn't it be nice to sweep? I think baseball's stupid and we lose a game, and not in a really ridiculous way. Like I don't know. I don't have the highest hopes, and I hope we take all 3, but I think we're gonna take 2. My pick to click. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do you know who I think is gonna have a hell of a series? Is Davis Schneider.
Yeah, good call.
I think there's just so much potential in that bat, man. And I know he's not the highest pedigree, but he has worked really hard this year, and he's going to be in the lineup and he's going to hit, man. And I'm going to say this, it's going to be like, oh man, he went 0 for 3, but it's like, yeah, he hit 2 baseballs over 102 miles an hour.
Outfielder made a diving catch or something, right?
You know what I mean? Like, all the signs are there. I think he's gonna have a monster series. I hope that's my real answer, but my hope is that Bo Bichette can put it together and have a great series at home as well.
I'm with you. Dalton Varsho is my pick to click to have a big series. A couple righties on the schedule from Pittsburgh, and not that bit great of righties, to be honest. And I think Yusei Kikuchi is going to throw a gem, but we'll touch on that later in this series. Riley, anything else to add before we get out of here today? We're hard pressed for time against the clock, so anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Jesse, I'm super excited tomorrow. We're gonna have a great time, man. Yep, we'll get out of here. If we see you tomorrow, we do. If not, then we'll meet you back in YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're watching / listening to us. But Jesse, I'm stoked, man. Always down to talk baseball, as you know.
I'd say we've made a show for 2.5 years about it, for goodness sake. So I guess why stop now? All right. That'll do it for episode here today. Remember, like I said, you can find us at the Comedy Bar on the corner of Bloor and Ossington tomorrow with a bunch of friends from Blue Jays Today, the Walk Off podcast, and so much more. So please make sure you come see us there. We will be back on Sunday to recap the Pirate series, and stay tuned to our social pages. We'll have a ton of content going on from the show tomorrow. For Riley McConnell, I am Jesse Burrell. Let's have a good series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, a winnable series against a winnable team, and hope we have a winning streak to talk about when we come back on Sunday. Until next time, guys, let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.